Link here with Night Stalker Records, where it's time for a change. How's everybody doing? I want to say welcome to the third lane officially. Mainstream slash independent is the category basically, but we are considered the third lane in the music industry now, and it's amazing how the rumor mill is still active out there. And always is, it always has been. I knew it would be, and that's okay because the rumor is that we've had major backing to do what we've done, and we haven't. Since day one, we haven't. There was four of us: my wife, myself, and two other individuals. Behind the scenes, we used our allowance money over 10 years to do this, and and it's wild because it may look like we come out of nowhere, but we haven't. We've been here for 10 years, just being ignored, and that's okay because that's how you build under their noses and you bypass the gatekeepers. Is you do it in front of them, they don't know. And are we concerned about them? Absolutely not. How you gonna be concerned about $1 billion industry? You don't beat it realistically. You're not gonna beat it, but you can build around it, right? And that's exactly what we did. So are they concerned about us? No, we're not concerned about them either. On either side, we are the bridge between the two. I didn't want to go mainstream because the one thing I'm not going to do is leave our local bands and artists. You know, you'll have artists and bands they'll leave and we're not going to forget where we come from. And what happens within a year or two? They forget where they come from. We're not going to do that to y'all. So we decided that instead of going completely mainstream and because when you do that, you usually have to leave the local thing behind. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We decided early on that that I there was quite a few of us, several of us actually. We didn't want no part of mainstream completely because the local is where it's at. That's where it's all started. So we're not leaving you guys, okay? No, Night Stalker Records, we are not switching lanes and going CCM. As far as a label, we work with CCM. We help them. Our infrastructure will work for them just as well as it will for hip hop, metal, or any of that. You might even ask, how we got involved with that. Well, I'm going to tell you. Um, Tim, Doug from Culture Shock, and myself, we went to Extreme Tours and the Objectives in Tennessee back in, I want to say, right around 2022, 20 or so. And, that was a great experience. It really is. If you ever get invited to go there, I definitely highly recommend you go. But the thing is, when I was there, I was contacted by two CCM industry insiders. Okay, I'm not going to tell you who they are. One of the agreements is, we don't tell who our secrets are. We don't tell who our people are. But the thing is, they came to me and they asked me. They said, we've seen what you're doing with metal and hip hop and rock and all that, and your infrastructure's working, but we can't figure it out to help ourselves. And, I told them, I said, it's really not that hard, and I explained to them part of how it all operates. And they said, well, what about the rest of it? I mean, there's some things you're leaving out. And I said, well, I purposely am because once you set these in place, everything else just falls in place, And they said, well, we still can't figure it out. And I said, all right, so what are we asking, And they said, we'd like to use your infrastructure to help save CCM music. I said, say what? I said, you want me to help you say what's going on over there? And they said, yeah. I said, it must be pretty bad if, you guys are coming to me. They said, well, we know you have a Pentecostal background. You grew up in the church and, different things. And we know you still have connections. And I said, that's all fine and dandy. I said, but you have your own people that can do this. You don't need, you have your own people. Why are you choosing me, And I never did figure out why me, but I guess that's left to be left alone for later, find out later. But the thing is, I told them, I says, you know what you're asking? And they said, yeah, we know exactly what we're asking. And I said, so is what'll happen is we're going to be a hub for all the music industries as far as CCM, metal, hip hop, death metal, reggae. If you could play the, Star Spangled Banner on uh, a kazoo and do it perfectly, you're an artist. That's just how it is. And I said, but with that being said, I said, I can't give you an answer right now. I said, it's going to take time. I said, I'm going to do some research. I said, I'm going to need some numbers and different things. And they said, we're here to help you. I said, no, I'm going to get this information myself. And they said, well, what we heard about you is true then, you do it your way. And I said, exactly. I said, that's how we've gotten here where we are now, is if we do it our way. And they agreed to it. They agreed to it. And after several more meetings, I agreed that with my background, with everything, that I would go ahead and bring CCM industry or the CCM side of things into what we're doing. And they asked me, they said, well, what do you need from us? I looked them dead both in their eyes and said, stay out of my way. That's it. Just stay out of my way. And I've been in contact with them over the last few weeks, off and on, like I have with even in secular, as far as metal and all that. I've been in contact with individuals from over there too. And it's working. I mean, it's all working. And, I talked to one of the CCM insiders and I asked him, I says, do they know, the legacies and do the independents know that we just broke the door down and given them a shot, and that we don't, we basically don't charge. And because we won't charge the artists. We don't take nothing off their back. Ask Culture Shock. I've been with them for 10 years. Never asked for nothing. In fact, they've offered money. All the members have offered it one point or another. And I told them no. I refused it. And, because that's not what this is about. This is about them having an honest shot at the world hearing their music. And, so it's all working. It's all working. But it's weird because I do have several CCM artists, a couple of secular artists that I've been in conversation with. And, the information I'm getting from the CCM side is the same thing that we've been hearing in metal, rock, that the gatekeepers, they don't allow them to move. Well, we do. The third lane in the industry, we allow you to move. We allow you to be seen. We want you to be seen. We even help you be seen and heard. So, with that being said, and like I said, as far as locals, we're not going nowhere, guys. We just bridge the gap, so if you want to go mainstream, we can help you do so. It's just amazing. It really is that, I've been given a mission. And that's the one thing, somebody brought that up in a meeting a couple nights ago that, they said, well, and I apologize, so I don't get paid for none of this. There is a legacy band who's done this before, as far as, going into venues and all that. The thing is, our missions look very similar, from the outside. I have to agree, they really do. And, but the thing is, when you break them open, you break each mission open, they're different. Way different. So, no, we're not copying anybody or nothing. It just looks like it. It just happened to be coincidence that everything just kind of worked the way it did. But, as we'll say, the big man has his reasons for why he has us do things. So we're just going to follow the path and keep going. As far as metal and rocking. Hey, man, I'm not going nowhere. You guys are still, you're all my family. I ain't going nowhere. Of course, I'm still going to be in them venues with you and things, but we're going to be doing things a little different on another side, too, to bring everybody together. So, no, we're not going nowhere, man. We're just making the family bigger. That's all. And, you know, so for now, I'm going to let you guys go. I really, I want to give you guys a lot more information, but I just can't right now. So, the thing is, here we are, making it happen. Whatever you do in life, no matter what it is, always reach for the top. Your story deserves it.